What's going on, everybody? Doug here, one of the host, producers, and creators of the John of Your Life podcast, here with another review roundup episode for you all this week. The first of many South by Southwest coverage review episodes for you all. I have a lot to unpack. Literally behind me, my luggage is still packed. I know, embarrassing, but I have so much to unpack for you all in terms of review, bonus episodes, kind of just more recap episodes. There's a lot. This was an amazing South by Southwest. I can't wait to dive into details of everything. Probably not this episode, but hopefully this one, hopefully soon, maybe in the week or so. This was an amazing South by Southwest, literally. Last year was amazing too, but this year was really something special. It has now set the bar really high for us in terms of kind of like, hey, going forward, hopefully all South bys can now be as legendary and as fun, as iconic as this one was, because this one was just chef's kiss, perfect. Hope you're doing really well. Hope you're having an amazing month of March. I can't believe March is already ending. It's like, come on, we just began. I thought we were still in February today. I was like, oh yeah, February this. I'm like, no, it's March, dumbass. And it's gonna be April next week. So hope you have a great month of March. Hope you have a great spring. Hopefully you're staying warm, cool, wherever you are in the world. Hope you're staying positive too during these times. I cannot wait to tell you all about this trip. A lot of cool things in the pipeline for us in terms of kind of just like episodes for more screenings, whatever too. But again, I will definitely do my best to kind of recap the entire South by this year, because this year was really amazing and so much fun. It couldn't have gone any better. It was perfect. And a lot of people thank for that, of course. But look out for that. Hopefully the next few weeks I'll have more kind of like maybe double episodes per week or more going forward. And definitely working on a lot of cool things behind the scenes now with the guys and I. We should have a full episode of the podcast this week accompanying this review roundup episode. No new movies that we're seeing this week. I'll probably see They Will Kill You this weekend depending on time, but I know tomorrow, today's Wednesday. This week's episode of the podcast, we have a lot to unpack of trailers: Harry Potter, Dune 3, Spider-Man Brand New Day. So I know this week's episode, full episode of the podcast, will definitely be a trailer filled episode. But again, I have a lot to unpack. Again, I will definitely unpack my luggage this week for sure. But also upload a lot more record a bunch of cool South by review recaps for you all, for our audio listeners, of course, to our video listeners too. Right now on our channel too, all of our Q&As and intros for all the cast and directors we saw at South by are now live on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Midway Avenue Productions. Unfortunately, because this year was really tight with scheduling and a lot of just kind of like similar start times, we didn't get to record everything, all the Q&As we went to. And that's because a lot of films we saw were either across town from each other, or they were an hour or half hour in between. So we had to leave early for a few Q&As, and I'm bummed because I love listening to Q&As, love recording it for you all for all of our coverage. But we got some really cool ones that you'll see right now on our YouTube, from Forbidden Fruits to Power Ballots, Obsession. Ready or Not 2 that I loved. There's so a lot of amazing cool things right now on our YouTube channel. Look out for that. So again, all the coverage is there right now for our Q&As and intros. There's a very special South by Southwest 2026 playlist as well. If you're looking for that directly. And I'm still going through the backlog now of uploading all my editing and all my reactions, out of theater reactions, out of world premiere reactions. So it's going to be a really, really cool kind of unveiling of all the things I have to upload for you all and for us here on the podcast. But on this week's podcast, on this week's review episode, I have my reviews that I saw. Two things I saw, of course, at South by, which are Pretty Lethal and Forbidden Fruits. And as always, on brand, two very wildly different movies. Wild for sure, and is so completely different. Again, it's on brand with these review episodes that I put out for you all. I'm kind of proud of that, doing the show now for a couple of years, that now even with these review episodes, I'm still keeping it on brand with the two very opposite movies. Kind of spice up and kind of keep you entertained with these episodes. But yeah, stay tuned for all cool, more all cool, a lot of cool review reactions and more stuff. Again, those will be on, of course, our social media pages and, of course, our YouTube. Again, a lot of things on the pipeline as well for the show itself. A lot of cool things that we're working behind the scenes for Nick, myself, and Moses. And we're moving really into spring to summer movie season, because I know I think we have Michael in a couple of weeks. I know there was a few things we're trying to check out if we have time for, but again, schedule all our work schedules too, and scheduling overall. a lot of things going on. So hopefully we'll definitely be staying on top of that. But again, a lot of cool things on the pipeline for in terms of kind of just like recording episodes and maybe kind of bringing more people for interviews and more guests. Yeah, trying to definitely this summer and the spring is definitely trying to ramp up a lot more for the podcast, and we definitely want to build this out a lot more than we have been before. Because I feel like, you know, when we were at South by last year, I think me and Nick kind of spoke about this, is that we kind of felt really inspired, and we're like, man, we feel like we're in this. And I think we definitely kind of like ticked it up a little bit last year, but now this year when I was there last year, kind of this past week, I would say, but past week or so being there, I was like, oh, I had ideas for the guys and I to do this, and that, kind of like that. So feeling very ambitious in the best possible way, and definitely feeling really good about expanding the show and kind of bringing on more people and kind of just bringing on more guests. So yeah, if you want to be a guest on the show too, you don't have to be anybody. You want to talk about movies for an hour or so, DM us, email us. We got you. We were more than happy to have you on the podcast. So yeah, guys, looking forward to kind of just all the cool things we have kind of working behind the scenes, and all the cool things that I need to edit for you all as well. But thank you all for tuning in. Of course, you can find this show on your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Amazon Music, or Spotify. Of course, find our full video element of our show on our YouTube channel, sorry, youtube.com/Midway Avenue Productions. Whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, don't be a stranger, don't be shy. Leave us a review, comment, rate, subscribe. We want to hear from you guys. Your feedback means the world to us. We truly mean that from the bottom of our hearts. We want to hear from you guys. Your feedback, again, neutral, positive, negative, we'll take it. We want to hear from you guys. Again, what do you want to see more of, stuff like that. We listen to all the comments, even though we're not supposed to, allegedly. But we listen to all comments. We listen to all the feedback, read all the comments. So again, don't be shy, don't be a stranger. Leave us a review, leave us a comment. We subscribe, please. And again, we're really so close to that 1,000 subs on YouTube. We're like 15 subs away. Y'all, that's a huge milestone for us overall as the show, but again, for YouTube as well. 1,000 kind of a huge kind of threshold, definitely for us to be more considered for more opportunities and events and festivals and you know, screening, stuff like that too. So don't be shy, don't be a stranger. Please hit us up, please help us out here. We're 15 away, we're 95. Yeah, 1,000 is going to be a huge milestone, and I'm still working on a huge giveaway for us hitting out 100 episodes of the podcast the other day. So stay tuned for that as well. But thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for listening, for watching us. Seriously, I mean this from the bottom of my heart too. Us being at South by would not be possible without the support and love from all you guys. Seriously, I mean, you got us to South by really from all you who are listening to us on the podcast feed, or watching us now on our social medias, from our reactions, reviews, kind of funny things we do on our social media, and of course on our YouTube now with the YouTube element of the show. So this was really a team effort. We have you to thank a lot. Thank you all for our day ones, of course, but also to people who kind of hopped on the train with us, you know, as we've been going on now 4 years come November, which is crazy to think. But seriously, thank you all for, you know, what you do and kind of just like the support you've given us. Like, we're very, 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 I mean, again, humbled, but also to the fact that you like what we do and you listen to us and you support us the way you do. It means a lot to us. So thank you all so much. We could not have done that without you guys, seriously. So thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. But moving on, no more rambling of all that. Moving on to now this week's review Roundup episode, of course. In order to how I saw them in, we saw 10 movies. Like I said, 10 movies last year at South by, 10 movies this year at South by. So really cool, keeping on brand as well, kind of being consistent too with our movie going and our premiere watching. And of course, you know, I'm happy to report that I liked most of everything I saw this year at South by, minus this one. And let's get into it, shall we? And this was our fourth film we saw at South by. I went this year with my amazing close friend, Mr. Nino Daniel himself, the legend that he is. And we had a packed first few days. We saw Keke Palmer's and Bruce Riley's movie I Love Boosters, comes out in May. Then we saw Wishful Thinking, movie that I can't wait to talk about. It's still waiting distribution, I believe, or a release date. And then 3 was Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, a movie that I fucking love, excuse my language. And then we saw this. And so the funny thing about this too, and I hope he doesn't mind me telling the story on air. So we were, she's back to the first person. So we were got the world premiere, Ready or Not 2. So the whole cast and crew, the Q&A, directors, all that, and that was really cool. And we walked out, and these guys from Searchlight and Disney who do the Ready or Not movies was like, "Hey, do you want to be part of our video?" Da, da, da. And we all do reactions, as you know now from social media stuff like that. That's what we do. And so me and Nino and I did this kind of like reaction video for Ready or Not 2, which is really cool, by the way. You see it now on the social medias. We've been kind of resharing and reposting it. It's really cool. I think they kind of cut me out because I think I swore, like, this movie is fucking awesome. I think I was yelling, a little too loud. But Nina has really cool segments in that video. But I'm still there. I'm still featured, whatever. Next to the legend that is Nino. And part of us being at South by is that we're there to work, of course. We're there to get coverage, whatever. But we want some fun as well. You can go to some parties and mingle, network, whatever. And we definitely try to get on the list for all the parties, after party, premiere party, before party, all that, whatever. And we didn't hear back from the Ready or Not 2 people, which again we totally get it too. It was a lot of people, a lot of press, a lot of people who are bigger than us in terms of like analytics and followers. We get it. And so we were like, cool. What the problem is, though, when Ready or Not 2 was ending, the line for this movie called Pre-Lethal was starting, which was our second premiere on our schedule. So we were like, shoot, like, what's going on here? Blah, 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 blah. So we go online. I'm like, hey, do you think we should ask those guys about the after party that recorded us the reactions? And Nina goes, I got this. So I go back in line. I wait in line for Pre-Lethal. And the lines were kind of like wrapped around the block. And we had reservations this year. And the whole thing, I'll explain that in another South by episode. But with that said, too, we realized we were hoping to get into that South by the Ready or Not 2 after party. And we were like, we were on hold, but we were on deck. We were like, maybe there's room. We didn't hear anything about it, unfortunately. So we were like, oh, okay. But like we were like checking our phones, like what's gonna happen, blah blah blah. But we got into this movie Pre-Lethal. We sat in the back, and we're like, well, if we get an invite to Ready or Not 2 party, we'll probably just leave and then whatever. So we didn't hear back from those people, of course. Totally get it too. Again, we're still on the rise of stuff as well with our analytics and our followers. But with that said, though, we were looking forward to this movie, Pre-Lethal. And again, I was like, okay, cool, this is kind of fun. Like, A7 North produces, Kelly McCormick, who I'm a big fan of, her and her husband and producing partner David Leitch have done stuff like Bullet Train and The Fall Guy and Deadpool 2 and John Wick, and I mean, it goes on and on and on. Nobody, Violent Night. I'm a big fan of both Kelly McCormick and David Leitch as like the love for movie making, filmmaking, also real stunts and action. Also, Uma Thurman too. Uma Thurman's a legend. I mean, it's the bride from Kill Bill, and that's Mia Wallace from Pulp Fiction. I mean, she's a legend. So we were like, oh, cool, we're seeing this movie. Either way, we're in this movie now. We got in. Great. But if you don't know Pre-Lethal, which is an Amazon Prime, not Amazon MGM Prime Video, not going to theaters, going to streaming directly. And the premise is 5 ballerinas find themselves in a fight for their lives when they seek shelter at a mysterious roadside inn that's run by a former ballet prodigy. Nino and I are very similar in ways, and I think even the guys too, I think me, Nick, and Moses are similar too, where we just know the vibe kind of right away. And 15 minutes in, me and Nino both go, oh no. And we were both like, yeah, we're not feeling this movie. And I was like, what? It's 15 minutes. I'm going to give it a chance. Yeah, we'll see. And as the movie goes on, you're like, oh no, this movie's not good. And so I'm kind of like, I wish they called us for the after party. This movie's not good. This movie to me is basically the definition of really bad streaming movies, or what streaming movies kind of are I think now are kind of like becoming in a way. Not all of them, but when I think of streaming movies, I think of this. You're like, yeah, this was made for streaming and streaming only. It's tough to really, again, it's keeping the non-spoiler as well. This movie was better when it was called John Wick, Ballerina from the World of John Wick. I love that movie. I'm a big John Wick fan. And Ballerina really just like, why that movie flopped is still beyond me. The movie's bad. The movie is awesome if you're a John Wick fan too. Like, I don't know why that movie flopped, because it was great action. Ana de Armas is a badass. It's funny at times, but it was just, the quality of that movie is superb. And we loved Ballerina. I think all of us here on the podcast loved it too. But again, we are John Wick fans. But like, I'm really bummed that this movie flopped the way it did, because everything was top tier, from the acting, cinematography, the score, the action. I mean, everything. Pretty Lethal is kind of like, okay, cool, we're the Temu, Walmart, Kmart brand of that, and no, you shouldn't have done that. There's definitely an audience for this movie for sure. Myself and Nino included, we were not one of them. And I think what kind of sucks too is that we were on this big high from Ready or Not 2. We're like, oh my God, we saw three great movies now, from I Love Boosters, The Wishful Thinking, now Ready or Not 2, now this. And we're like, this one kind of like paused our hype. We were like, oh shit. We were like, I don't know about this one. And I gotta say, this movie disappointed because of the people who were involved. Like I said, 87 North, Kelly McCormick, who I'm a massive fan of. This seems like bottom of the barrel for them. You know, some of the actresses in this, like, again, if you're a ballet fan, you might like it. If you were a ballerina, if you have a love for ballet, this movie might be for you. But yeah, this movie is just not as uninspired. It's the dialogue, the writing in this is atrocious. It just feels very like directionless too. You're just like, okay, like we'll just put him in this kind of weird hotel. I mean, a lot of questions too of like, why are these younger adults, women who are going with one chaperone in this weird town in Budapest, and it's like, a lot of things don't add up. You're like, wait, well, how does this work? And you're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. And the acting in this kind of like, there's acting in this where you're like, okay, what? It's all over the place. The movie's all over the place, but the acting in this is all over the place as well. And I'm not, again, this is more, maybe I think this is definitely targeted to the TikTok generation. I'm Gen Z, so whatever's after me. So it's definitely made for that generation, the TikTok generation, because again, some of the dialogue, some of the acting, some of the humor, you're like, oh yeah, this is very for that generation, for that kind of demographic, and it shows on screen. Maddie Ziegler, again, I know she's a very talented dancer. From the things I've seen her as an actress, hasn't really won me over. Iris Apatow, who I obviously for all her dad's movies, from Funny People and This Is 40 and on yeah, and even I think her name is the actress who was in Melissa Simmons, she's the deaf actress who was also in Quiet Place, who's a great actress if you ask me. Uma Thurman, I mean, the list goes on and on. Lana Condor, Avintika, their name was Mean Girls. She was Karen in the Mean Girls musical adaptation that I was not a fan of, and I love Mean Girls. I love that musical. That movie just not work. But this movie just it's very uninspired. I mean, again, the acting is like just all over the place. It's filmed well, and the choreography is not bad. I'll give that. The choreography, the hybrid of the dancing and fighting choreography, definitely works in times. But the movie itself is just like, it's just bottom of the barrel action. It's just Uma Thurman, who I'm a massive fan of, looks bored. She's doing this kind of weird accent that doesn't really make sense or really work. You're like, okay, what is this? So there's so much going on. You're just like, I don't know like what to like take from this. And again, like I said, there was times where I was looking at my watch and I'm like, obviously, when you're a critic and you're at a festival, you don't want to leave and be disrespectful, of course. But there was times where me and Nina were like, "Do you want to go?" And I was like, "No, I feel bad if we leave." Yeah, this movie, this movie is not it. Yeah, some of the kills are fun to watch, but again, I've seen action movies where I'm like, oh, the kills were fun to watch, or the fights were kind of fun to watch, but the movie is lacking substance. This movie is lacking massive substance, and the chemistry between the cast is not there. It's like I feel like they were in like some of them were different movies at one point, and like one trying to be a star, one trying to be a star, then one kind of like trying to follow through. It's like, okay, what? Again, I will say this too. With movies, with movies like this, that's really like, real sets being built, shooting on location. I respect that to a degree, especially with like movies like this, where it's like it could be, this really kind of just like shot on a green screen or shot in like a closet somewhere. I appreciate that for sure. I really, really do. But just watching this kind of just felt bored. And I mean, it just kind of rips off a lot of like other action movies that we've seen in the past couple of years. Like I said, it wants to be John Wick Ballerina so badly. And I don't know, it's just, and some of the like, logic too just in the movie did not make sense. I don't want to spoil it, but it's just like, wait, what? Like, okay. And then there's a reveal at the end with like with one of the villains. You're just like, oh, come on. Like, I don't know. and to Nina's point too, I feel like this movie is only an hour and 30, and it's paced so like quick. You're like, I have no time to kind of like be with these characters, get to know them more, know their chemistry, their sisterhood. I mean, it's non-existent to a point. You're like, you don't care, so why should I care? And I just felt so like not invested in this movie whatsoever. And again, I think this movie could have been a lot better if it was handled by maybe with a better script, maybe with a more confident director. And no offense to her either, but this movie doesn't feel confidently made, and I feel like the script like could have used a lot more rewrites, or it was just like maybe take more risk. And this movie doesn't really feel that way. But there was a crowd loving. We saw obviously the thing about South by Southwest is that the crowds love these movies. They're definitely like action crowd pleasers, and people like action packed, kind of like the bombastic movies like this, like horror and sci-fi and action, whatever. I get it, and South by is the perfect audience for stuff like that. But I just watching this, I'm like, man, this feels just so low quality and just so like a student film at times. And I'm like, I've seen better student films than this. So I don't know. This movie, I mean, again, I think people who, again, teenage young women will probably love this, and then the TikTok generation will for sure love this. But someone who loves movies and someone who's seen a lot of movies, I'm just sitting there. I was like, this is like, I was bored. I was so like, just kind of like, oh man, I'm not feeling this. And I would get some the dialogue. It was lines where we were quoting back from to our car afterwards. They're like, they really fucking say that, because that is some horrific dialogue. But y'all can't be winners, unfortunately. But I give this movie really a 3 out of 10, just because. He says some of the acting in it is not terrible. So the choreography, again, when I do like when film, again, 87 North and 8711, a lot of great stunt work, stunt teams, stunt coordinators, and stunt professionals know how to craft stunts and dancing and choreography and kind of blend them to one, which I definitely admire and appreciate. But this movie just. Man, this movie's not it, and I just kind of felt like, and if I saw it at home, I probably would turn this off, or if I saw it like at a regular screening, I probably would have walked out. But like, because we're at South by, I don't want to be rude to any of the people who worked on this movie, but this movie was just a big kind of like bag of nothing. So yeah, again, count me out winners, and if you're really bored, sure, but. There's other things to watch at home that I'd be like, watch this instead. But yeah, kind of whack. Not a fan. And hopefully this movie doesn't ruin anyone's careers, or kind of leave like a bad taste in their mouth for other projects. But I don't know. This movie was just like it's just again pretty mediocre. And our reaction to this, I think Nina said pretty lame. It's pretty mediocre, because the movie has no oomph, no substance. But like I said, all can be winners. All right, moving on to the other film I saw, which was the closing film for me at this year's South by Southwest, movie that I knew nothing about. My friend Caitlin, who I'll shout her out on this, and she knows she's listening. If you listen to this, Caitlin, I gotta shout you out on this. We were having happy hour for her birthday a few weeks ago, and she said, "What are you seeing for South by?" I gave her the phone, the schedule. She said, "Okay, see this, see this, see this, and this." This movie was not on my radar. When I was seeing this, it wasn't. And then my friend Caitlin was like, "Oh, gotta see Forbidden Fruits." I knew nothing about it. I know she told me about it. I'm like, "Cool." I saved it on my phone, and then when the reservations opened up to kind of book our tickets for this, I'm like, "Cool." But Forbidden Fruits, if you didn't know, like me, Free Eden employee Apple secretly runs a witchy feminine cult in the basement of a mall store after hours. When a new hire challenges their performative sisterhood, the women are forced to face their own poisons or succumb to a bloody fate. That's a great premise to write, by the way. Like I said, I knew nothing about this movie, but I knew after hearing it from my friend Caitlin, and of course, a lot of the word around town was like, "Oh, you can't miss Forbidden Fruits, da, 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 da." You're like, okay, I guess, whatever, too. And then our schedule, of course, that was the last movie I had to go see had to watch before we went back home to Phoenix. So I went to the premiere of a movie. That movie ended. I had Mr. Q&A. I hopped on a Lime bike and just biked from the Zach Theater in Austin to the Paramount. And so I got in line right when reservations for us, people with reservation tickets were going in. So I made it perfect timing. Sat in the back, lower section of the theater because it was. This one was the line for this is a world premiere. Line for this was bonkers. And I've seen now a lot of films now at South by Southwest. Not 20 films now at South by Southwest this year and last year combined. And this movie definitely there's a lot of buzz around this movie. Again, went in blind, I watched any of the trailers, I saw the poster for it, think about it. I'm like, cool. Let's see what it's about. And I gotta say, if you can go in blind like me for this movie, I highly recommend this. I highly recommend, because I was like, I didn't know nothing, and I was really captured by like what's gonna happen next. But for me though, the best way to pitch this movie is it's everything you love about the Mean Girls. It's definitely Mean Girls adjacent for this generation, and again, for sure, definitely mixed with the whole sisterhood of the movie The Craft with Neve Campbell, which is a very underrated movie. I saw it a couple years ago for the first time. Great movie, underrated. And then also Jennifer's Body, kind of like the grimy, dirty, supernatural-esque of Jennifer's Body, which is funny enough because Diablo Cody, who I'm a massive fan of, wrote Jennifer's Body among Juno. I think she won an Oscar for Juno, actually. Lisa Frankenstein, and she produced this, and you're like, oh, this has Diablo Cody DNA all over it in the best possible way. But I think this is also the director of this movie. I think her name is Meredith Alloway, and I think this was her directorial debut for a feature film, which is cool. I think I heard in the opening when she came out on stage for the intro before the movie began, is that I think she was like a critic at one point. And then became a filmmaker, which is really, really cool. Again, I love when I'm seeing kind of people's progression as a career from like if you're like an actor to a director, or a writer to a director, or writer to an actor, or whatever. Or it's crazy. She was a critic now to a filmmaker, which is, I love that. I think it's really cool. More power to her. And I think she definitely has a bright future as a filmmaker now after this movie. But I was sitting there, and man, this movie, like the first 10 minutes, people are going crazy for this movie. And I was like, wow. I was like, okay. And I mean, people were cheering, people were hollering, even in like kind of like the small things. I mean, people were just going nuts for this movie. You're like, wow. Like, I was like, okay. Like, I did not expect this movie to be what it was, what the film is, but also to the reception, the reaction to this. I was like, man, people are going. Look around this theater. I'm like, people are going insane for this movie. But really though, definitely Mean Girls, The Craft, and Jennifer's Body, like all that combined, and you get this movie for sure. And I like not knowing where it was going, because I was like, oh, it's gonna be like more like a Mean Girls, kind of like a Mallrats kind of thing with like, ooh, okay, like Bad in the Mall, whatever. But then as it kind of like unfolds, you're like, what's going on here? What's happening here? What's this? And I was really kind of like kind of caught off guard in the best possible way, because I was like, I did not expect it to go here or what's going to happen here. And then it takes a few like pretty like dark turns, and I was like, oh dear Lord. I was like, whoa. And I was not expecting that from this movie whatsoever. And I was like, oh, interesting. And I love being proven wrong about movies. And I love being caught off guard in movies or kind of surprised. And this movie definitely caught me off guard and surprised me a lot. I mean, a lot, to the point where I was like, whoa. Like, I think what I learned over the past couple of years too now, even as a film fan, even before doing a podcast, where it's like, I think going into movies blind, not knowing a premise or a trailer or any kind of marketing, you kind of feel it's more of an experience. You kind of feel more transport. You kind of feel like captivated, and this movie definitely captivated me in ways where I was kind of like not prepared, and in a good way, of course. And also too, I did not watch Riverdale. I think I've seen her in a couple of things. I forgot that was Lily Reinhart, and I was like, who was that redhead who was wearing a wig, of course? And I was like, oh, it's Lily Reinhart, and I'm like, oh, I've seen her in like things here and there, but not in like actual, full on films or projects. I'm like, oh, cool, that's so cool. And also too, except for her and Alexandra Shipp, I did not know the cast. I didn't know Lola Tong. I didn't know Victoria Pedretti. And I like that too. They didn't cast like Zendaya. They didn't cast Sydney Sweeney. I'd have been like, oh, here we go again, casting the stunt casting. But these actresses really like you believe their chemistry. You believe like the friendship. You could believe like who they're playing. You're like, oh wow, this really works. I know Lola Tongue is huge from The Summer I Turned Pretty. Never saw that movie. I never saw the show. I mean, I'm familiar with it to a degree for personal reasons. But all four of them have just like great chemistry, and they feel so believable in the roles. And I mean, really though, like the writing of this movie is great, and it was based off a stage play as well. I would actually love to see the stage play now after seeing this movie for sure. But everyone in this movie is great. But to me though, and the audience, the whole premiere audience that I saw it with, Victoria Pedretti stole the show. I mean, she's the blonde in this movie. She really stole the show. I mean, she was cracking me up a lot. But no, there is certain things where you're just like, whoa. And like I said, she really stole the show. And there's a few jokes where, again, she brought the house down and people were just going nuts. And I'm like, hey, good for her. And not knowing her before this, I'm like, hey, now she's someone that I'm definitely have on my radar now to look as an actress, as a performer. I'm like, oh wow. And she really stole the show. And I've seen now again a lot of movies at South by, and when certain actors really pop or kind of make you laugh, the whole audience will let you know if it works or doesn't work. And Victoria's character, her name is Cherry, really brought the house. I mean, really. I mean, she was that scene stealer, and she owns this movie. To me, whenever she's on screen, she stole the show. But everyone, this is really great. And Lily Reinhart, again, not knowing most of her stuff, she scared me in this movie, genuinely, sincerely and genuinely. Where I was like, I'm scared of this person because. Not giving out a spoiler, of course, but there's things what she does in her character and her backstory. You're just like, what the hell? And just her demeanor, the way her cadence, the way she kind of carries herself, the way she kind of speaks to everybody, her friends and her boss, and just everyone she interacts with. You're like, I'm genuinely fearful of this person. Like, I am scared. But yeah, as more power to her as a performer, that she really kind of owns this role, and all four of these actresses do. But like I said, though, when watching it, though, like I was genuinely terrified of Lily Reinhart's character, Apple. You're like, what the fuck? And as the movie kind of progresses, you learn more about these characters, learn more about their backstory. You're just like, ooh, shit. You're like, oh no, and you're like, oh wait, what? And and like I said, the movie caught me off guard because I was like, where is this going? And there's a few twists and reveals where I was like, I did not see that coming whatsoever. And I was sitting there, I'm like, wow, I'm sitting there really enjoying this movie. And again, being surprised definitely adds to more of like the enjoyment and the immersion of being in a film. And this definitely had that. I think at times the movie, is it an hour? I think at times there was times where it kind of dragged a bit, where I was like, okay, like at the time I'm like, okay, it kind of felt like they were kind of like doing a lot of exterior shots of the mall or certain things. You're like, okay, hour 45. Yeah, it feels a bit long. It drags in parts where I was like, this could have been a little bit maybe like maybe more like cleaned up a little bit or tightened up a little bit. And I was like, okay, that's a small thing. And also, personally, I don't see the hype. I'll probably get flack for this, and listen, rightfully so. I don't get the whole Emma Chamberlain thing personally. Maybe I'm not her demographic, or I'm not her demographic, whatever. But she's in this movie in her role. The small role she's in, I didn't think she was all that great, but the crowd went nuts when she's on screen. I mean, the crowd went berserk, like a rock concert. You're like, oh wow, I was like, oh, okay, but I was like, it's one of those things where it's kind of like I don't like the films where they kind of like they put in like, okay, who's hot right now? Let's put him in the movie, and it's like, no. And I think this is kind of stunt casting because again, she's very big now with being like, I think her being like a personality, ambassador, influencer, whatever that she is. She kind of like is definitely stunt casting to a point where I was like, okay, she's hot right now in terms of kind of like popularity and viewership and followers, whatever. So I guess, and I don't know, her acting is not great. A small role, but I was kind of like, I wasn't impressed. I was like, yeah, nah. I was like, okay, sure, whatever. And they do this thing. I don't want to keep it not spoiler, but like there's a post-credit scene, and it's really heavy on like sequel baiting, and it's like, do we need a sequel for this? Again, I like the movie a lot, but this movie feels like a very tight and complete one-off where I was like, cool, I'm fine with this. I like this how it ended. I like how like, the reveals happen. I liked how like, you know, when things are kind of like, or you know, when certain things happen to certain characters, you're like, oh, okay, this. I felt like the severity. I felt like how like grisly and how brutal it gets at times. You're like, oh, whoa, and this movie gets really brutal and violent to a point. Again, I was not expecting it. Where I was like, wow, this movie is really grisly and brutal. I'm like, oh shit, but I'm not a fan of sequel baiting of movies, and it's like films like this, again, like films like this, which are indie films, lower budget films that shoot on location, you know, really kind of like are filmmaker driven and really give a great platform for artists and actors, kind of like perform, really kind of show their talents as an actor, as a performer. Sequel wise, I'm like, and they did this thing with an actress. I won't say who it is. It's like they kind of keep her hidden through most of the movie to that post credit scene. And I was like, oh, I'm a big fan of that actress, but I'm like, but why? What was the point of that? And I mean, I kind of get it, but I'm like, okay, it seems kind of like a corny thing to do, a story decision. Where I was like, I don't know about all that. But no, sitting there really though, I was sitting there. I was like, look, I mean, I was on myself this time, and I was like, wow, like, I'm really enjoying this movie, and I kind of felt like, uneasy at times too when things happen. You're like, I was sitting there, I kind of feel kind of like queasy. I also kind of feel like, I don't know, I kind of feel like uncomfortable, but in a good way, if that makes sense. But though, there's definitely has, again, Diablo Cody, like I said, her DNA stamped all over it, even though this is Meredith Holloway's directorial debut for a feature film. But I think this was a good pairing of her as a producer, these actresses as the leads. But again, though, the less you know, the better with this movie. I really mean that, and I really try to hit home now when I see a movie where I'm like, do what I did, go in blind, see it for yourself. But the less you know, the better. But really, all these actresses did a phenomenal job. Like I said, from Lola, Alexandra, Lily, to Victoria, like they really just have great chemistry. There's arguments made that this could be the Mean Girls or the cult classic Mean Girls for this generation. And I think there's people, I think, again, my generation, Gen Z for sure. Maybe the few people know generation, maybe, but definitely Gen Z, again, the TikTok generation for sure. And this younger generation will definitely love this movie. But be prepared to kind of like, oh shit, this is very like, this is brutal, but this is really funny. But also too, it was just like, it's a very ambitious and very, like I said, a lot of things happens when you're like, oh dear Lord. So again, be prepared to be surprised in the best possible way. So I give this movie a solid 8 out of 10. I really mean that. And will I watch it again? I'll probably watch it again for sure, because I want to see, like, again, some of the mall shots were really well crafted and well shot and well executed, where I was like, oh wow. But I do think, again, there are parts where I was like, again, it just feels a bit long for an hour and 45. You're like, things could be a bit tighter or cut out. You're like, okay. But really though, you're watching, because again, if you do love The Craft, or you love Mean Girls, you like Jennifer's Body, like the movie has all that for you. But you're watching because of the whole kind of witchy cult, kind of like coven sisterhood, and that's why I think that's definitely the heart and soul of this movie. And the performances in this movie are fantastic. So definitely check out Forbidden Fruits. Again, I love seeing indie lower budget films like this, again, made for the big screen. Shudder's doing a good job with this, of course. They produced this, so did IFC. So I love the work that IFC does, so does Shudder. So hey, keep making movies like this that go to the big screen, find an audience, and hopefully are destined to be a cult classic later on down the road. But yeah, it was definitely a good movie to kind of end South by with, because last year we saw a movie that we ended with, I was like, this movie sucked. It was called Hollow Road. That movie was ass. Sorry, professionally speaking, ass, but also this very boring and very just kind of like derivative film of other films that we've seen. But this one I was like, cool, this is a good movie to end South by with. And again, films like this, the genre, kind of like the genre of films like this too, bring audiences to the theaters. And you know, again, the word of mouth is, I think, is definitely really strong at a South by. Now the reviews are pretty good from it too. But yeah, I said for sure, if it's playing in your area, definitely check it out. I know there's like a fan screening of it today in certain theaters tonight, but I was surprised. I was like, wow, this movie is really, really good. And I'm really surprised that I'm really enjoying this too, the way I did, and just kind of like how it stuck with me a week later, where I was like, I'm still thinking about this movie now. And I'm like, oh yeah, this movie, all this too. And again, there were some brutal shots where are still in my mind where I'm like, I can't see this now for the rest of the time, where I was like, oh my God. But again, That's why indie filmmaking like this and film adaptation like this with decent budget, good cast really shine in the audiences. But hey, yeah, definitely check this out. So yeah, one good decent review, one movie, and then one actually damn good movie. But like I said, I'm definitely going to do a full recap of everything I saw. Hopefully soon. Definitely do like a short form video for social media, and definitely do a long form podcast episode of that all too. But I was really happy how this year's South by went, and hopefully next year the guys will join me again, Moses and Nick, and they kind of just get the ball rolling again. And we definitely now I tell you what, now having the South by 2 years in a row, we want to do everything now, from like CinemaCon in Vegas to Cannes Film Festival to Comic-Con hopefully one day, and as well as TIFF in Toronto. So that all happens thanks to you all and the support and the ongoing support you do. So again, if you're new to the channel, don't be shy, don't be a stranger. Subscribe, rate, review, leave us a rating on all the podcast platforms you listen to or on YouTube, because again, like thanks because of you all, you help us get here, which is, again, this is definitely a team effort. So thank you all so much for tuning in this week's review episode. Again, we should have a full episode of the podcast this week with being the guys accompanying this. So again, a lot of cool content on the radar, a lot of cool episodes to get to kind of recap and produce for you all. And again, I will definitely be editing this weekend a lot of reactions and my final kind of touches on reactions and kind of videos I have all. But thank you all so much. Stay well. Stay positive. So nowadays, to be positive, go to the movies, enjoy yourself too, enjoy life if you can. But more importantly, as always, guys, we will see you all at the movies.